Hello, New Wave of British Heavy Metal.com here. Today it's the 29th of July 2024. Little quick favour, if I can ask that, and that's if you wouldn't mind please subscribing to the channel, because that would be a big help and certainly appreciated. So please click the button if you would. Today, the great Waysted. Of course, the band put together by the somewhat legendary Pete Way all the way back in 1982. After he left UFO, and what we've got here just released recently is a quite superb 4-disc box set, courtesy of the always reliable Cherry Red, and this 4 CD box set covers Wasted's output from back then, comprising of the debut album Vices, the self-titled EP which came shortly afterwards, packaged up together with the Won't Get Out Alive live mini album. Then we've got The Good, the Bad and the Wasted, and disc 4 is the quite superb Save Your Prayers. And shortly after Save Your Prayers, Wasted split, though they did briefly reform early this century. I think it was around about 2003 when they issued the somewhat aptly titled Back from the Dead. Though they wouldn't hang around too much longer after that, and they went again, split again, and of course poor old Pete, his time on this planet came to an end sadly in 2020, so there won't be any more Wasted. Oh, also in this there's a sprinkling of bonus tracks. There's an extensive booklet with all sorts of information about the band and history and whatnot, and it's all in one of those familiar Cherry Red, very solid and sturdy clamshell boxes. So, all in all, top stuff. Musically, well, Vices, that debut album, hard edged, there's no mucking about here. It's got something of a sort of a sleazy, punky feel to it as well, which is perhaps not surprising because, the vocalist Finn, he had quite a raspy vocal style. Yeah, of course, it's a little bit rough around the edges, but it's still got plenty of muscle to it, and it's quite a fuel listen, even if it does sound a little bit of its time these days. And there's UFO connections all over the place here, because Paul Raymond, and another one that sadly isn't with us, is in the lineup here. That self-titled EP would follow shortly after Vices. And say that's on one part of disc 2 here, and then we've got the mini live album Won't Get Out Alive, and by this time Wasted were practically UFO by another name, because we've got Pete Way, we've got Paul Raymond, and now we've got Andy Parker, right? Get myself mixed up here. We've certainly got Andy Parker, and also Paul Chapman, and as you might expect on this mini live album with Way, Parker, Chapman, they throw in some UFO stuff as well, a couple of UFO classics. Riotously good, in your face and raw live album as it should be. Disc 3, we've got The Good, the Bad and the Wasted from 1985. By this time the band were pretty much a trio of Pete, Finn and Paul Chapman. And to me, the Good, the Bad and the Wasted marked a bit of a step forward to him. It was a bit more refined, a bit more polished, but it still had a fair share of power going on as well. And when you got Paul Chapman, what a player. Then disc 4 is the monster classic Save Your Prayers from 1986. More lineup changes. Finn had gone, replaced by the soaring voice of Danny Vaughan. And Save Your Prayers is a quite superb album of melodic hard rock. Not too far from classic UFO really. Vaughan's voice is just marvellous, effortless class. Chapman does what he does best, riffing and soloing away. I think he's such a and again, on a sadder note, he's another ex-UFO member that's no longer with us either, because Paul died a few years ago. But he was such a fine guitarist. And of course, we've got Pete thumping away with his familiar melodic bass lines. I mean, Save Your Prayers, it's just packed full glorious biting melodic rockers. You know, we got the thunderous Walls Fall Down and Hell Comes Home, one of the great power ballads, forgive the phrase, Heaven Tonight, the sublime How the West Was Won, and my favourite on the album, Heroes Die Young. I mean, it's just class from start to finish, that album. It really should have pushed Waysted into the big leagues, but it didn't. Instead, they fell apart. Pete would be drawn back to UFO, and of course UFO have always tended to be a magnet which attracts back ex-members, hasn't it, over the years. You know, as well as Pete, Schenker came and went, Paul Raymond and Andy Parker came and went, and whatnot. But anyway, quickly, in some UFO related news, Phil Mogg's album, Mogg's Mattel, that's due for release in a few weeks. Order is in, needless to say, review to follow in due course. But back to Waysted to conclude this one. You know, this box set, excellent way, no pun intended, to listen how good they were. And in particular, if you're not already familiar with Save Your Prayers, listen to that and then ask yourself why it wasn't multi-platinum at the time. So that's it. It's reasonably priced for this box set at the moment. So I will put a link to it on Amazon underneath in the description so you can go and check it out. Please do subscribe to the channel before you go, because that would be marvellous. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and take care.